Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to the Can Fats channel, and appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I got another Mandela effect to talk about with you guys today. This is on the movie called Redemption. Has a guy named Jason Stanos in it, I believe. He's the same guy who's in the Transporter. I think you guys all know who that is. I actually haven't seen the movie Redemption, but somebody in the comment section from my last video asked me to check it out or commented about it, and I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Let me look into that. So I did look into it, and I found, some pretty interesting results. And it's funny because the stuff I'm going to tell you about this movie, it really ties into something else that I wanted to talk to you guys about anyways, called the echo chamber effect. So let me get on into screen share, and we'll get into this Mandela effect on the Redemption movie. So let's go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And so here we are. This is Caught in the Echo Chamber, Mistaken Mandela Effects is what I titled this one. If you notice, I got this little neat little graphic here. It's the echo chamber effect, right? And this is kind of like, I'll talk about what this is in a minute. Let's talk about the movie first. So point one, why am I doing this video? I'm gonna talk about this in 3 points, you guys. I got 3 points to make about this. We'll talk about them, and I'll give you my final thoughts on the situation. All right. Point one, why am I making this video? All right. Here's why. Okay. I had a real, first of all, I want to thank everybody who takes the time to watch my videos. I don't have a large following on this channel whatsoever, you guys. So I appreciate every single view I get. I appreciate every single comment I get. So I got a comment from a multi-dimensional barbarian. And man, I tell you what, I don't get a lot of comments on this channel, but what I notice is the comments I do get are very thoughtful, and I love the feedback I get on this channel. You guys, even if you don't agree with me, please comment. Let me know your thoughts. And if you have other things you would like me to look into, if you appreciate my analytical stance on how to examine this kind of stuff, give me something you're interested in me looking into. And if I have time, I will look into it, and I'll give you my opinion. I'll give you my take on the situation. It will be from an analytical kind of marketing standpoint, from a marketing mind, because that's what I do for a living. So I think I eat, breathe, and sleep that stuff. So that's just kind of how I approach things, and I'll definitely give you my opinion on it. But anyways, multi-dimensional barbarian asks, well, he says, I was talking about, let me give you some context. I was talking about this movie, We're the Millers. And, I said, well, the Mandela effect on that movie was that it used to be called Meet the Millers. And then they changed the name to We're the Millers. I said, this is a crazy Mandela effect. It's really weird. And that's basically what the video was about. And Multidimensional Barbarian says, I could ask you the same thing about Bad Neighbors, now called Neighbors, or the movie Redemption, that's now called Hummingbird. It's a Jason Statham movie. I'm probably saying the Stolen movie. I'm probably saying that wrong. We all know who that is, though. Anyways, so I said, wow, that stuff is news to me, man. I'll look into those things. Thanks for the amazing feedback. So again, Multidimensional Barbarian, shout out to you, my man. I appreciate the feedback. Guys, please leave comments on this channel. I appreciate the views and the feedback, guys. So helpful. Anyways, so Multidimensional brought those movies up, and so I kind of latched on to Redemption, how it's now called the Hummingbird, and I thought I'd look into that Mandela effect for him. So that's why I'm doing this video. And what happened is that leads us into point two. So let me close this. Point two, the world is shrinking. Okay, is it Redemption or is it Hummingbird? Multidimensional Barbarian said it used to be called Redemption. Now it's called Hummingbird. What the heck's going on? Well, here's what's going on. Okay, here's what's going on. The movie was originally, now this is the research that I did. The movie was originally called Hummingbird. That's the UK DVD cover right there. For when it was released in the UK, it was called Hummingbird. But when they brought it to America, the marketing department felt like it would be better if it had a different name. They didn't want to call it Hummingbird, so they called it something they thought would sell better in America. And they call it Redemption. Here's the DVD cover for Redemption, right? And it goes a step further because in France, they named it something else. In France, they called it Crazy Joe. There's the France cover for Redemption. So that's weird, right? That's crazy. 3 different names for the same damn movie. I mean, what the hell? So anyways, that's interesting. And the reason why I say the world is shrinking right here is because of the simple fact that, you guys, this stuff used to happen. It's been happening all the time. But the difference is, like, you know, back in the 80s and back in the 90s even, you know, we just didn't know about it. You know, we didn't have the internet around to where we had all this access to pictures and box covers from other countries. I mean, I found these box covers in about 5 seconds. But back then in the 90s, I mean, you know, they could distribute something to a whole other country and title it under a name that might suit that market better, right? But now, as the world shrinks, we got access to all this crap. I remember when I was, I don't know, man, I was in my 20s or something, and I remember buying an import CD from Japan. It was a Green Day CD of Dookie, and it was from Japan, and it had 2 extra tracks on it. And, you know, the cover was a little bit different, and it was in Japanese and had 2 extra tracks on it. And I spent like $25 on that thing. And it was like, you know, that was a lot of money for me at the time. And, but I'd never seen nothing like it, you know, and you couldn't just get a hold of stuff like that easily back then, you know. So music and even books, even, well, look at Harry Potter, for instance. Over there in Europe, in the UK, it was Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And then when they brought it to America, they changed the name to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. It was just a marketing thing because they thought, you know, the Philosopher's Stone didn't sound cool enough in America, so they changed the name. And like back in the 80s and 90s, you know, we wouldn't have gave that a second thought. We wouldn't even known about it, so we didn't care. They were just doing stuff to sell more, push more units. They're just trying to push more units. But now that the world is shrinking, now that we see what everyone else is seeing and we're all seeing the same stuff, now it gets a little confusing sometimes. And in the case of this movie that, you know, Multidimensional Barbarian brought up, I mean, how could you not be a little confused? The damn movie has 3 names and 3 different box covers. I mean, what the hell's going on around here? So I think it's really a situation where old distribution is hitting the new world head on, and it's a little bit confusing, to be honest. Anyways, here's where I found my explanations on that. A wiki article right here. Hummingbird, released as Redemption in the United States, 2013 British action film drama. And if we go down here, Hummingbird was released in the United Kingdom, the United States is Redemption, and France is Crazy Joe. It's crazy, you know. So when I started looking for why they named it this and why they named it that, then I kind of figured, I found this cool article here on the source where he talks about, Jason Statham talks about Redemption, and he talks about, if you read, I'm not going to read the whole article, but he basically talks about, you know, if I can find it. Anyways, in this article, he talks about, where did he say? He says, how redeeming was your character ultimately? How redeeming is what they ask him. And he says to be called Redemption. In the UK, it was called Hummingbird. And that was the title of the screenplay and the production, and it is the name of the movie in the UK. But the US distributors wanted a different name. It's not a story about redemption. He doesn't feel like he can be forgiven for what he's done. It's not about that. It's about him doing good just for a fleeting. It's not about forgiveness. He doesn't want someone to come up to him and say, listen, it's not your fault. It's not about that. It's about him finding an opportunity to do good for however long that is, for that is where he becomes someone else. And it does come full circle because he falls by the wayside. He's too dangerous to be a sober man. The skills that he's learned, he can't fit into society, and that's why he's drinking, numbing this. Although he was doing bad things, there were particularly good consequences. But anyway, to answer the question about redemption, I particularly prefer the title Hummingbird. That's what was said about it. So originally this movie was called Hummingbird. They changed the name to Redemption to release it in the States, and they changed the name to Crazy Joe to release it in France. So it's just an example of a movie that just got the full marketing treatment, you know? So it's kind of amazing. But this is interesting because, you know, we see things now that we've never used to see because of the internet. And I wrote that down, but I just talked to you guys about that. Basically, the world is shrinking, man. We're seeing things now that we never used to see in the 90s. You know, I never saw what the movie poster for a movie like this looked like in Japan. Or they did the same thing with Zootopia. Zootopia, that kids movie that came out a few years back, it had a totally different name over there in Europe and stuff. So, but yeah, so there you go. And I can see how something like that could be confused for like a Mandela effect. I really do. And you have to kind of like dig deep into the research to really figure it out. But if you've already seen all these other Mandela effects and you're already kind of freaking out about this Mandela effect thing, then I can see how this just kind of adds more fuel to the fire. So it really is like, man, it's really a case-by-case basis for me. You know, I can't let myself just be pulled into it too far. I mean, we have to, you know, logically analyze this crap, because if we don't, man, it really messes us up, you know? It's bad enough it's happening. But I'm not going to try to make it worse than it is. In this case, it was just a mistaken Mandela effect, which is, to me, that's kind of cool. That makes me happy. I'd rather these Mandela effects all be wrong than be real. Honestly, if you guys want my truthful opinion, I'd rather they all be wrong than be real. Unfortunately, there's plenty out there that don't make sense, and I cannot explain at all. So I wish they were all like this one. But anyways, let's move a little further. Point 3. A personalized internet. Because guys, it's not just that the world is shrinking. That's not the only problem. The other problem is a personalized internet. Let me explain to you what I mean here. Okay. First thing I want to talk about is this. The echo chamber effect. All right. Explain that a little bit better. I need to explain to you these algorithms of Google, YouTube, and Facebook. These are these 3 websites, guys, are the most popular websites on the entire internet. Okay. These are the 3 most popular, most visited websites on the entire internet in this order: Google, YouTube, Facebook. Number 1, number 2, number 3. Now you got to ask yourself, they all have search engines, and they're all basically how do they all have separate algorithms. Now Google owns YouTube, but they run under separate algorithms. The same algorithms that run YouTube, that determines what pulls up in search results, are a little bit different on YouTube than they are for Google. Okay, but how do these algorithms work? How do they decide what information we see? Because if we know this, then we start to understand you know, the echo chamber effect, and we start to understand why it appears that things are going insane sometimes. Like, why are there so many videos about flat earth theory? Why are there so many videos about, oh my God, it seems like everyone's watching the Joe Rogan podcast. You know, I'm talking about personal experience here. You know, why does this thing seem so freaking popular right now? What's happening, right? The truth is, it's the thing you're thinking of is probably not that popular, but you're stuck in an echo chamber. Right here, you're stuck in this thing. Everything you don't like is being repelled out of your echo chamber. Everything you do like, you're being surrounded by. Let me explain to you how this works, okay? Because this is part of the reason why we start to freak out and think the world is ending and the sky is falling, and we start to think everything's fake, right? It's crazy. But let me talk about these 3 algorithms first, okay? This is now I know these bubbles look big. Don't freak out. It's not that big of a deal. I'll get through them. The first one is Google, all right? How does Google work? According to Google, personalized search gives them the ability to customize search results based on a user's previous 180 days of search history. Okay? They're taking the last 180 days of your search history. It's linked to an anonymous cookie in your browser. It's possible to turn off Google's personalized search, but Google doesn't make it easy to do so. What that means is you're getting personalized search results. When you type something into Google and look for a search result on something, like you're not going to get the same result as like Joe Smith over there and Sarah Connor over there. You're not going to get the, oh my God, I just referenced the Terminator movies. I can't believe it. Anyways, you're not going to get the same results as those guys, okay? Because Google has been tracking you for the last 180 days, and they're basing your search results based off of things you've been typing in and your personality. Things that things you're interested in, right? So like if I've been watching all these Joe Rogan videos and I've been looking up all this Joe Rogan stuff and I've been really into this Joe Rogan podcast, if I type something in to the internet that has anything to do like UFC, if I type in UFC, I'm probably going to get a different palette of search results than what you might get, just because of some of the interest that Google has seen me has been tracking me doing, right? So that's Google. So understand that, right? Your search results and the information you are looking for, is shaped by what you've already shown interest in. All right. That's important. Keep that in mind. Okay. Facebook, same way. In general, Facebook says the average user has access to about 1,500 posts per day, but only looks at 300 according to Time. They're tracking all this stuff. To ensure that those posts are as relevant to that particular user, Facebook says it uses thousands of factors to determine what shows up in an individual's user feed. There are many nuances. For example, if you comment on someone's wall, you are more likely to see a post from them than if you like a post, according to researchers in the study Uncovering Algorithms, looking inside the Facebook newsfeed. And if you go to a person's timeline, you're more likely to see content from them later. Most people aren't aware that these kinds of subtleties are affecting algorithms that determine what they see. The majority of people, 62%, don't even know that Facebook news feeds are automatically curated according to the study. And by the study, look, they're automatically curated depending on what you do, your actions. Facebook is paying attention to every single thing you do, and they're using it as a way to curate what you're seeing on your timeline, okay? And that's important because all you have to do is log into Facebook and you're seeing the same kinds of stuff in your timeline, right? And it's very easy for you to see the same kind of stuff every day and start to think like, man, why is everybody always talking about Trump all the time? Or man, why is everybody always talking about conspiracy theories all the time? Man, it's all over the place. The world's gone crazy. No, the world hasn't gone crazy. The world hasn't gone crazy. It's just Facebook has you in one of these echo chamber. You're only seeing people who have the same thought process as you. And it starts to look repetitive. Have you ever been on Facebook and said, man, how come people are always so negative on here? It's not that people are always negative on Facebook. It's that people are always negative on your timeline. You've done things to the Facebook algorithm to make it feel like these are the kinds of things it should be putting in front of you, right? So that's important to remember. Google and Facebook are both personalizing your information collecting. Like when you're socializing on Facebook, Facebook's shaping who you socialize with. It's shaping whose posts you're seeing. It's shaping what you see. You're being pushed into a certain way, a certain direction. Same with Google, all right? Now, YouTube is the same thing, guys. Factors which influence your suggested video recommendations. There are several factors that influence your search results and videos recommendations. These are fed into YouTube's algorithm, which makes these decisions as to what videos you would like automatically. It does so by looking at certain data. Let's have a look at the different types. Content sources. There are two main sources of how YouTube draws your recommended videos and feeds the algorithm. First is the content data you type into the search box, such as titles, descriptions, metadata. And second is the data of user activity. It is categorized into a number of attributes, such as your favorites, ratings, numbers of viewings, etc. YouTube's looking at how many times you watch certain videos, what kinds of videos you're watching. Oh my God, you've watched 10 videos and they all have this tag on it, Mandela effect. Well, clearly you're interested in Mandela effect. So let me put more Mandela effect videos in front of you, right? So it would be easy just by that one simple way that it's collecting. It would be easy to start to think that, like, man, this stuff is everywhere. I'm seeing this stuff all over YouTube. It's always popping up in my recommended over here. It's crazy, you know? Your viewing activity. Before YouTube suggests your recommended videos, it determines the set of associated videos you are likely to watch after the current viewing video. To do this, it uses the method of association or co-visitation, which is done by identifying a series of videos you have recently watched in a single session. The algorithm finds a connection between the videos you have watched and suggests you the videos you may be interested in viewing. And then the third thing is ranking recommendations. Once YouTube generates a set of recommendations, it then ranks them according to a number of signals. Then they are organized into different groups as per their user specification, diversification, and video quality. Right? They're ranked according to their video quality and diversification. Right? So user specification is used to bring forward a video similar to your unique preferences. User-specific signals are created based on your view time and count of watching certain types of videos. Diversification is done identifying your videos that are very similar to each other. Exactly identical videos are removed and more varied types of videos are brought in. The logic behind diversifying is that users have multiple interests and related viewing preferences. Recommended videos that are too similar to each other may not reflect a user's overall preference. Video quality includes a number of metrics such as video ratings, video view count, favorites, comments, and shares. Anyways, so that's it, right? There's the algo of Google, YouTube, and Facebook. The point there is what you're seeing is not the whole picture. I mean, it's like looking at the sky through a telescope. You're only seeing a small portion of what's happening, right? And if this is it's very easy to break out of this echo chamber, but if you don't start breaking out of it yourself, like, you won't break out of it. Like, you have to consciously break out of it. All right. And I'll get to more of that in a second. But look, so a person, like, here's what I'm saying though, right? A personalized internet can keep us from being objective. That's what I'm saying. If you never got to look at the sky except through a telescope, you would not have the same perception of the sky. You would think the sky was probably a circle. The sky was a circle with a bunch of little glowy dots on it or something. What do I mean by objective? I mean of a person or their judgment, not influenced by personal feelings or opinions and considering and representing facts. I mean being able to get all the facts, right? I'm talking about making decisions based off of facts. Right? But what happens is when you get stuck in these echo chambers, you get a whole bunch of information that's exactly the same as how you feel and exactly the same as what you think. So it's almost like, you know, everybody's agreeing with you. And it's almost like it starts to shape that feeling, that opinion. It almost starts to become a reality. But you're not getting all the facts when you're stuck in an echo chamber. You're just stuck in a stupid echo chamber that's been created by a dumb algorithm. Honestly, seriously. And it can damage people. Seriously. So look, being surrounded by people who share our tastes and opinions on Facebook, being bombarded with recommended videos that cater to our preferences and tastes, getting search results on Google that cater to our exact opinions on topics can amplify our opinions like an ego booster. All right, they amplify our opinions. They strengthen our resolve in our own opinions. And sometimes that's good. But the thing is, guys, opinions should be formed based off facts, not off of a bunch of opinions same as ours and have been shoved down our throats because some algorithm thinks that's what we want to look at. Right? So that's important. And I think when you're trying to identify like the relevance of conspiracy theories, and you're trying to identify the relevance of like a particular Mandela effect or something like that, then I think it's important to look at other angles. like for instance, this Redemption movie. When I started looking into it, I didn't look up Redemption movie Mandela effect. What I looked up was, did they change the name of the Redemption movie or something like that? I was just kind of trying to take a logical idea and see if anything would pull up, if I could find anything that made sense for why this movie would have a different name. And I started finding things. But the thing is, I didn't keep myself stuck in that echo chamber of Mandela effect, Mandela effect, Mandela effect. The only way for me to find new information about a particular situation is to step outside of that Mandela effect echo chamber. And that's what I'm saying. All right. Now, I don't want you guys to mistake what I'm saying for being the same as I don't believe in the Mandela effect, because I do believe in the Mandela effect. I do believe in it, but it's a crazy situation. And, it can be made even crazier with all these echo chambers. And I'm just saying, guys, we have to be aware. We have to be aware. We have to be aware of mistaken Mandela effects too. The mistaken ones are just as important as the real ones, because we have to be able to see the facts. If we can't see the facts, then how the hell can we figure out what's going on? All right, and that's why I got to thank people like, Barbarian, a multidimensional Barbarian, for pointing things like that out to me and just kind of being able to investigate some of that. I was so happy to be able to find something that wasn't a Mandela effect for a change, right? Because, man, there are thousands and thousands of these things, and I cannot explain most of them, and it's crazy to me. So I'm happy to find something that makes actual sense again. The moon landing, ISS and SpaceX. I want to talk about that for a second, guys, because when we talk about echo chambers, I was like a few months ago, I was seriously caught in this echo chamber, and I didn't even realize it. But I was like, I was watching all these videos about the damn moon landing being fake and not being real. And I was starting to believe, like, yeah, man, that really kind of makes sense. Maybe we didn't go to the moon, And I was stuck in an echo chamber about the moon landing, but I just kept on watching more and more videos about how this was fake and all this proof and stuff like that it wasn't real, and how NASA faked this and NASA faked that and all this stuff, But I had to bust out of the echo chamber to actually find legitimate proof that proved to me that, yeah, it's like impossible that we didn't go to the moon. I mean, that was a real thing that happened. And the way I did it was, I busted out I started looking up stuff that wasn't like we faked the moon landing, or did we fake the moon landing and stuff like that. I stopped looking up stuff like that. I started looking up things like, are we still running experiments based off of the Apollo missions, or, proof that we actually went to the moon, stuff like that. I started looking for things. Basically, I had to compare and contrast for myself, you guys. I had to compare and contrast to break out of the echo chamber. I needed to see the other viewpoint of it, right? And I think that's important, guys. When you're looking at things like the Mandela effect, you have to stay objective. You need to see both sides of it. You want to hear the other side's argument, right? And I ended up finding this whole thing about the lunar laser ranging experiment. This has to do with reflectors that we left on the moon during the Apollo missions, and we still beam lasers to them to this day, because it's an experiment that doesn't require power. But these reflectors they're retro reflectors, and they're setting on the moon, and we actually ping lasers to them, and pinging these lasers to them allows us to measure the exact distance within a centimeter of how far the moon is away from us and how fast the moon is traveling. And it's a very simple experiment to do, but that's why we left them up there. It didn't require any power to do, and we're still using them to this day. And here's a whole, if you want to know more about that, you can check it out. But the point is, this is actual science. Like, this is science. And it's actually going on to this day. I mean, literally, we went. But you can watch enough videos and be stuck in an echo chamber. And, I'm going to do another video. It's beyond the scope of this video, but I will do another video about this because I think it's important. All right, guys, knowledge is power. All right. And all it takes to take someone's knowledge away is to introduce doubt into their mind. All I have to do is introduce a little bit of doubt into your mind about whether something happened or not, and I took that knowledge away from you. That's all I have to do is introduce a tiny bit of doubt. And all of a sudden, you're not sure anymore. Now you're second guessing yourself. Then all of a sudden, you get stuck in this echo chamber and watch 50 videos about how we faked the moon landing. Now all of a sudden, you don't know anything anymore. And I took that knowledge away from you. I took that power away from you. So you have to be careful when you're watching these videos about conspiracy theories. You definitely want to compare and contrast and see both sides of it. I'm not saying it's all going to make sense, guys. It's not all going to make sense. Some of this stuff with the Mandela effect does not add up. But I'm telling you guys, there's a lot of crap out there that can be proven with science, and it doesn't even make any logical sense why people are saying it. Like, this is the part where I'm supposed to cough and say flat Earth. But that's a video for another day. I'm not going to get into flat Earth hypothesis today, or flat Earth theory today. But, you know, all I'm going to say about that is there's definite science that can prove, I'm going to do a video about this in the future, but there's definite science that can prove the Earth is not flat. You know, we're not surrounded by a giant wall of ice. You know, that's not true. All right. This is not true. And I'll do another video to actually prove it to you guys with actual legitimate facts and analytics, and I will show you. But that's another video. Anyways, this whole thing, the moon landing, the ISS being fake, we don't have a space station in space. That's fake. SpaceX, those are all fake. Dudes, that stuff was not fake, you guys. It was not fake. I could do a video, it'd probably be like an hour long, that would prove all of these things to you. But I'm not going to do it right now. It's out of the scope of this video. But my point is, guys, it's easy to get stuck in an echo chamber with these algorithms of Google, YouTube, and Facebook. And with the world shrinking the way it is, it's easy to find things sometimes that don't quite make sense. So what I'm saying is try to stay objective and just try to hear both sides of the argument. If someone's saying something to you that sounds really strange, look around to see if you can find a logical explanation for it, because you might find something that makes sense. So let me get into final thoughts. Okay, a couple final thoughts. First of all, guys, when I'm looking at Mandela effects, here's some of the questions I ask myself. Okay, is this thing a variant of something from another country? 2, can I verify the change from multiple sources? I want to know if I can see that people are talking about this in different places. Like, can I verify the change? Is this a Mandela effect that I see other people talking about? Can I witness it for myself? Or is this just like one guy randomly talking about this thing, but when I look around on the internet, I don't see any proof of it? Or when I go look in my cabinets, it's still the old way. I don't know what he's talking about. Like, you know what I mean? I need to verify the change from multiple sources. That's what I'm saying. Number 3, is it really easy to find residue? Right? It's residual residue. That's finding evidence of it the way it was before the change, right? Because typically these Mandela effects, they don't leave tons and tons of residue in plain sight. Usually, that's why when you watch these people like you know, you'll watch like when you watch Moneybag 73, you'll see him do video. You'll see him show clips of different videos of people like singing songs the old way, or he'll show people saying things the old way. But you know what? For him doing that, but it's like you'll find tons and tons of video where it's the new way too, right? Now, sometimes you'll find Mandela effects where there's a lot of residual, but a lot of times you'll have to dig a little bit. That's why you're always seeing people like use like newspaper archive and stuff. They have to go find old newspapers to find it the old way. It's really hard to find residue sometimes of some of these changes. Usually you have to dig a little bit. So if you're smack dab running across the Mandela effect that you see residual everywhere for the old way, man, that should have you a little bit suspicious, and you should look a little bit deeper to try to find some kind of alternate explanation. Clearly it's still around in that other way too. And then 4, can I ask alternate questions about the effect that might give me a logical answer? Like with the movie in question with this one, like, did they change the name of Hummingbird movie, right? Like, I just asked that question. I didn't ask I asked Redemption. Did they change the name of the Redemption movie, right? And I started finding answers. But just ask questions like this that break away from the echo chamber. Like, it would be very easy for me to be stuck in a Mandela effect echo chamber because I'm always looking for information about that kind of stuff. But for me to research something, I have to step outside of that echo chamber. I have to break through it, man. And the only way to break through it is to not feed the same phrasing and the same questions into the algorithms. That's the only way to break through it. Also, I don't always buy the logical answer, you guys. Sometimes these effects, they have these really weird explanations why people are remembering things wrong, okay? However, if there is a logical answer, I'd like to hear it. Like the Queen song, for instance, "We Are the Champions." They said that the logical answer on that Queen song thing is that in the live version, he says, "We are the champions of the world." But in the actual studio recording version, he just said, "We are the champions." And then there was a silence after that. That was the logical explanation they gave. I don't buy into that logical explanation. That's absolute nonsense. That's not the truth at all. And that's not the way I remember it. And I don't believe that. I'm not going to go into analytical data to prove it with you guys right now because it's beyond the scope of this video, but I'm telling you, that's an example of how sometimes people introduce these explanations don't make sense, and there's ways that I can prove it doesn't make sense. But the point is, I don't always buy the logical answer, but I still want to know the logical answer. I want to hear it. I still want to hear the logical answer because in the case of this Redemption Hummingbird movie, the logical answer made a lot of sense. Right? It made sense to me. But a lot of times it doesn't. And a lot of times with these Mandela effects, you will have a logical answer, even though sometimes they don't even make sense. So not everything is a Mandela effect. And it's important not to get caught in echo chambers. But I do believe the Mandela effect is happening. I just want to point that out. Guys, look, bottom line, something is causing this thing. When it comes to the Mandela effect, something is causing this thing. Currently, I don't know what that thing is, by the way. I don't know what's causing it, guys. If you want to know what I'm currently looking into, I'm doing research on the LIGO discovery and gravitational waves. I just recently figured out that like a couple of years ago, they discovered gravitational waves with this LIGO instrument. It's like this giant instrument that basically, it basically can measure the gravitational waves of freaking black holes colliding and stuff. And it's crazy because these gravitational waves, they actually change space-time. They actually change space-time. They cause ripples in space-time. And it's amazing. And they won the Nobel Prize for discovering these gravitational waves. That was just a couple years ago. They won the Nobel Prize for discovering gravitational waves. It was nuts. And I tell you, a group who was really, really interested in it was CERN. Right? So how they relate to CERN experiments, and if this is something that could possibly somehow alter reality, right? How could this alter reality? Because I'm thinking, wait a minute, these gravitational waves, they affect space-time, and CERN is super interested in what they're doing, and like, how do they measure it? They measure black holes colliding, and what is CERN doing? CERN's creating like little miniature black holes colliding. They're essentially recreating Big Bang over there with the Hadron Collider. So it makes sense that they're interested. It makes sense that like these companies would be congruent with each other to me. But that being said, I'm not a physicist. So this kind of research is difficult for me, you guys. I'm looking at all these physicist papers and government websites and stuff, and it is hard to pull information out of them for me personally. Even though I consider myself fairly intelligent, I mean, I think that physicists are on another level, and I'm not intelligent in that way. So, it's a little difficult to pull information out. I tell you one thing I've noticed with all this physicist speak is that there's an element of copy to what they do. You can tell that they're always trying to sell their experiments. They're always trying to sell their discoveries and experiments. But when it comes time for them to actually explain what's happening and what it's doing, like the explanation always falls a little short. They don't do a good job of truly explaining the significance to people of what's happening, but they definitely let you know that it's incredibly valuable. But I'll tell you something. I mean, gravitational waves, like they cause ripples in space-time. I mean, that's big to me. I mean, that's huge. So that's insane. And it was big for them too, because they won the Nobel Prize. So it was a big deal. Maybe that's related to the Mandela effect somehow. I don't know. I really don't know. I do know one thing. When I was doing this research, I was saying that CERN has ran. They ran. Okay, so they were running experiments at CERN leading up to 2018, and then they've shut down now. They've shut down until 2021. They're upgrading their systems. By the way, LIGO has just received a ton of money to build another facility, to build more facilities, so they can measure these things even in greater detail, right? Where's all that money coming from? Why are they pumping all that money into them? You got to wonder, right? You got to read a lot of articles and documentation. I could show you some of the articles I read, but it's for another video. But the point is, I mean, look, the point is, you know, things are weird and something's causing it. I don't know what it is. But I will say, try to keep a level head, guys. Try to keep a level head. You know, the truth is out there, man. The truth is out there. Not to quote the X-Files and be trite about it, but the truth is out there. And you know, I think we got to keep a level head about stuff like this, and we have to just keep on doing research, keep on investigating. I feel like I'm kind of on to something with that LIGO discovery, and you know, I know a lot of people have done a ton of videos about CERN. Let me go ahead and get off a screen share. I know people have done a ton of videos about CERN, you guys. Some of them seem realistic, and some of them seem like they're just done just to make things look whack. Like they're done just to, you know, make things look out of this world, basically to ruin credibility. Ruin credibility to people who are really putting good information out there. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not a physicist, but I can tell you one thing. I'll tell you one thing. Governments don't plow millions and billions. Man, it costs billions of dollars to put LIGO together. It costs billions of dollars to put CERN together. People don't spend that kind of money on stuff unless there is some kind of real immediate gain. Not just like, you know, research. Yeah, like there's different kinds of research. You know what I'm saying? Like governments and the powers that be, you know, they're motivated by more than just the things that physicists and scientists are motivated by. I mean, if you can understand that people have reasons for throwing money at things that don't have to do with like just discovery and research, like there needs to be an agenda behind that research and discovery. So when you start seeing billions of dollars being thrown at LIGO, since they've discovered gravitational waves, and you see billions of dollars being thrown at CERN, since they discovered that extra element, and it's crazy. Now here's my thing right now, and I know this video is going crazy. You guys know how I am. I do these crazy long-winded videos. Here's the thing. I know that CERN has been shut down until 2021 for upgrades. They're not going to be running any more experiments. So in my mind, what if we see a decrease in Mandela effects within the next couple of years? If we see a decrease in Mandela effects in the next couple of years, to me, it's hard not to point at some of the experiments they're doing at CERN. You know, I don't know. It doesn't seem like everything I've read about gravitational waves, it doesn't seem like the tiny ones that they're creating over there should be able to alter things that much. But I'm not a physicist. I don't know. I have no clue. But anyways, if you want to know more about this topic, just look up gravitational waves, look up the LIGO discovery, and you can learn more about it. So anyways, I hope this video is helpful to you guys. If it is, give me a thumbs up. Please leave me a comment if you like this video. If you want me to research anything, leave me a comment. I'll research it and give you my take on it. I don't care if you guys agree with me. You don't have to agree with me on anything. I'd love to hear your take on it, because at the end of the day, doesn't matter what I think. I want to know what you think. So let me a comment below and let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, everybody.